Hi folks, and welcome to Windows in the Cloud, our new tech series dedicated to Windows 365 for IT pros like yourself. So I'm your host, Christian Brinkhoff, a feature PM on the Windows 365 engineering team, and we hope you to join us every month right here as we explore new technology-focused topics alongside with members from the community, as well as Microsoft engineering, as well as customers and end users like yourself. So our aim is to give you technical insights about the product from the folks that are creating it, deploying and using it. So if that makes you excited, here are a couple of next guests that we have in store for you in the upcoming episodes. So in the next episode, we will have a Microsoft MVP talking about everything related to best practices in deploying Windows 365 Cloud PC. After that, we have a team member from my team, from Scott's team as well, that we are introducing in some next seconds as well, talking about deployment as well as monitoring of Windows 365 Cloud PC from the product team. And then after that, we have a customer success story as well about a customer that is actually using Windows 365 Cloud PC and their lessons learned and everything around that. So in the second episode, we are very excited to have Scott Manchester joining us on this episode, Director of Product Management of Windows 365. And he will show everything about Windows 365, how it came together, as well as the new announcements at Microsoft Ignite last week. So hi Scott, how are you doing?
Hey, how's it going? Good to see you, Christian.
Yeah, likewise. And as well to the audience, thanks for joining, of course, this episode. We are very pleased to see you back, and we hope to see you, as I said earlier, joining in the next episode. But before we do that, Scott, can you introduce yourself a little bit to the audience here?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Christian. So as you mentioned, I'm Scott Manchester. I'm the Director of Program Management for Windows 365 at Microsoft. I'm a 21-year veteran here at Microsoft as of this January. I started my career at Microsoft working on our partner programs with hardware partners, building networking technologies, spent some time in Windows and server, even spent some time on Xbox working on a game streaming service that was an incubation project. And that was sort of my transition into working at virtualization at Microsoft and led me to lead the RDS team and the creation of Azure Virtual Desktop. And then shortly after the release of Azure Virtual Desktop, we had this opportunity to go build something a little different, a new type of class of virtualization for Microsoft that we call Cloud PC. And hopefully you guys have heard a little bit about Windows 365 and hopefully going to learn a few new things today, both about some of the impetus for it, some of the process we went through to create it, and then some of the exciting announcements that we made last week at Ignite, as Christian was alluding to earlier.
Thanks, Scott. And I wanted to throw in that question, like probably that Xbox and that experience got you creating the stickiness in the desktop virtualization, the vision around why we deliver the best experience for our customers, right?
Yeah, that, in Xbox, obviously we're catering to a type of user that is, more of a consumer-facing user, and expectations when you're building a solution that's not managed by a central IT is that there's a certain level of polish and fit and finish and an empowerment where an end user feels they can have the same kind of capabilities and controls on a virtual environment that they have on a physical environment, and to really build something that has broad interest with even enterprise users. You really need to fulfill those gaps and ensure that end users feel empowered with the experience, and IT admins can manage it effectively and feel like they're providing a secure and great user experience. So I think that really helped shape my mindset, when I got into enterprise virtualization, coming from a market where we're really focused on end user experiences and more consumer facing virtualization solutions.
Yeah, that's great. And before we jump in and explain to the audience what Windows 365 Cloud PC is, can you share a little bit of the main principles behind this product, like how this came together out of just some principles and eventually, of course, the product itself?
Yeah, and as I mentioned, I spent about 8 years, I guess, in the enterprise space with RDS and what we now call Azure Virtual Desktop. We called it Windows Virtual Desktop when we were developing it. And you pick up a lot of insights into how customers are actually using your products. And we had great engagement with the partner community and the entire ecosystem in the virtualization space. And when you take in the full 360 view of the market and how the technology has evolved and all the tools and services and players in this space, you realize that it's very rare that a customer is dealing with a single vendor. They're often, using third-party tools to manage things like, layering on of application or user profiles. They're using tools to more effectively manage the service offerings. And if you're a reseller of the product, you're looking for tools that help you manage many tenants at scale. And when we looked at the data around, all of the virtualization offerings that we provide directly and indirectly, we saw a lot of end customers that had to work with multiple vendors. And though generally that provides a really healthy ecosystem, sometimes customers are looking for more complete solutions to minimize the number of vendors involved. And so this is where you start to see the growth of these emerging technologies that we call DaaS, and desktop as a service is got a few different flavors. If you read the various analysts, positions on this, you'll see a slightly different points of view of what exactly is DaaS and how many really different distinct versions of it exist. We set out to build something that was even distinct from the typical DaaS solutions that were available at market at the time and what are available today, to provide something even more complete and something that brought together both an end user experience that's more commensurate with the physical world that they operate in today, and to provide a set of tools and management capabilities that also pattern match the physical world for admins. We also, along the way, became very clear that we had two distinct markets, the enterprise market and the small business market. And it was clear that to build something that really addressed both of those markets, we had to have a different point of view on what the portal experience is. At the end of the day, they're just end users. We wanted to pattern match the consumer experience. So the end user experience is very consistent between our enterprise and our business offering. But the administrative tasks and the cognitive load that you put on any admin is quite different when you're dealing with small businesses versus larger organizations who have central IT and perhaps even different distinct personas of the IT department. And as we get into the demos a bit, we'll talk a bit more about how that actually manifested in the different workflows that we've created. But we've always created that consistent end user experience that we try to pattern match the physical world as much as we can.
Yeah, that's a great explanation. And I think as well a great example of driven by feedback from customers and improve based on that, right? And create a product that fits in market pretty well. And I think this is a good segue in explaining what Windows 365 Cloud PC is, because I'm not sure everybody knows it already. So can you level set a little bit the audience?
Absolutely. And I'll start with kind of a general description, and maybe we'll tease out a bit more of the business and enterprise offering as we get into some of the demos. But we set out with Windows 365 to build a different class of virtualization. We looked at the market and the IaaS solutions that have been in market for decades. IaaS meaning infrastructure as a service, where you're basically installing your own operating system on top of core compute resources and building out both the software service components and the workloads that host your end users. And as I mentioned, that's been around on-prem for decades and moving to the cloud significantly in the last decade. And then things evolved a bit from what we call an infrastructure as a service offering to as a platform as a service offering. And a great example there would be Azure Virtual Desktop. The infrastructure components, the brokering and gateways and all the other control logic are offered as a finished service. So you're not installing an operating system and then installing roles on top of an operating system. And that made a huge leap forward in simplifying the development and management and even the costs associated with offering a virtualization experience to end users, but still left a lot of overhead in terms of staying on top of all the evolving changes in this space. New VM SKU offerings, new services, new security requirements, and just the world turning upside down with things like the pandemic that we started dealing with in early 2020. And then we look at the evolution of DaaS, and DaaS is defined as desktop as a service. So the idea with DaaS is that I'm just providing a Windows experience to end users with very little to no overhead for IT admins. But as I mentioned, it's kind of a vague term, and you could ask 10 different people what DaaS means and get 10 different answers. We saw an opportunity to build something that was distinctly different than the traditional DaaS offerings and an evolution from the PaaS offering that we have today. Certainly, many customers will always want something that gives them every knob and dial. And that's where AVD really is a well-suited product for customers that are deeply, entrenched in offering custom virtualization solutions to their customers. And we've seen a huge adoption of that product because it did address that market demand. But there's an entire different class of customer that's just looking to get a Windows experience delivered in an elastic way from the cloud, while maintaining their full security posture and flexibility and user experiences that they see in the physical world. And we define this as Cloud PC. Now that term has been around for a long time and people use it to mean different things as well. We treat it as a capital C, capital PC, meaning Microsoft defined term of Cloud PC. And we spent a lot of time, prepping for our announce in July and with the GA in August, working with analysts and press and others to help get a common understanding of what this new category of computing is that we call Cloud PC. So we gave some examples of some of the current features that we'll be offering with the product, but also talking about how this creates new opportunities to create compute experiences that are just very unique and distinct from traditional virtualization. One of those things that we shared some insight on was the ability to take a Cloud PC and be able to work on it even when you're in a disconnected state. So imagine sometime in the future where you're connected to your Cloud PC from a Windows endpoint, let's say, and maybe it's a scenario where you're traveling and you've got a laptop and perhaps you're connected over LTE or 5G or on the Wi-Fi at the airport, but you're about ready to embark on a plane ride, and you click a button and you sync your Cloud PC to your local machine. Now your local machine probably doesn't have the same amount of storage and compute and RAM resources as the machine in the cloud, but you could still be productive on this plane ride and get work done. Land on the other side and be able to sync that Cloud PC back up to the cloud. It sounds very futuristic, but it's actually not that far off when you consider a lot of the technologies we've built around this scenario. Things like containers and VM and diff disks and all the cloud services that truly make this a feasible solution. We just finished up just the week before last something that we call a 1 week or a hackathon week where our engineering teams get some opportunities to go work on some of these forward-looking projects. And we had a couple teams within Microsoft that actually went and did a bunch of prototyping on this offline Cloud PC, and pretty exciting to see the progress they were able to make using the technologies on the shelf today. But Cloud PC to us means something more akin to a physical PC, but with the benefits that the cloud brings. And that's the ability to scale in and out and up and down. What I mean by that is I can scale any individual's compute needs up and down based on their evolving needs, whether that's increased storage, increased RAM, or increased CPU utilization. But I can also increase in terms of the number of instances. So if I have seasonal workforce coming in and maybe in the summer months, my organization swells up 20, 30% greater, to be able to quickly provision workloads for those users in a zero-touch way, and then at the end of the season to be able to deprovision those users. So having that elasticity, but also that same experience that consumers and enterprise workers have come to love about a physical Windows device. And I'll show you some examples when we get into demo mode of how we've carried forward the metaphors and concepts that people have in a physical world that are often lost with traditional virtualization solutions.
Yeah, so that's great, and I can talk about my own experience. I was on a plane like 2 weeks ago, and I can actually use with this technology we have today a Cloud PC in the cloud, which was kind of fun within. Like,
I saw your tweet on that. That was pretty compelling. Seeing the mountains and the clouds out the window. You truly were getting your PC experience in the clouds there.
Yeah, I think the circle was round there, definitely, with Cloud PC running in the clouds and using in the cloud. So it was kind of fun. So one thing I want to touch base on as well is Satya announced this product during Microsoft Inspire, right? That's kind of a big deal, right? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, we spent a lot of time thinking about how are we going to tell the world about this new product. And, as I mentioned, that there's quite an ecosystem out there of ISVs and MSPs, CSPs, HSPs, a whole slew of three-letter acronyms out there that are involved in reselling and adding value on top of these services. So we view Windows 365 as yet another strong partner play. Whether you're a reseller of other Microsoft services or an ISV adding value or providing IT as a service to various organizations. Windows 365 was designed and architected in such a way to empower that same rich ecosystem of partners operating in the virtualization space, but also pulling in all those partners that support physical devices and leverage the skills and resources that they have there. We heard from many of our partners as we were doing early disclosure of this that they often have about a 7-to-1 ratio of resources, admin resources that support physical devices versus virtual devices. And of course, during the time frame of this development, we were dealing with the pandemic and the whole world was kind of turned upside down. And many organizations were struggling to find ways of provisioning, cloud-based workloads to their employees that are now pushed out of the office or hiring and dealing with the supply chain issues. So that lack of domain expertise and resources to support traditional virtualization became really painful as organizations were trying to ramp up due to the pandemic.
Yeah, I've been part of the field and I've been helping customers during that situation. I can exactly acknowledge that customers were just looking for something because they couldn't work on their existing environment and they ended up in a cloud environment, and currently they are sort of rediscovering what's their long-term strategy. And I like as well the thing that you touched on, that with Cloud PC we married a physical management PC team as well with the virtual desktop team, which has been sort of separate teams in the last 20 to 30 years. So I think that's kind of the simplicity customers are looking for. So that's great to hear. I know the audience is eager to see the demos right now, but before we do that, can you touch base a little bit on the announcements that we did at Microsoft Ignite last week?
Yeah, we were so excited to share, the great progress we've made in only 3 short months since we released the product. So we released it on August 2nd. So we're literally 3 months and 3 days past GA. And with that, we were super excited to share just how quickly we could respond to customer feedback. And this is just another great example, this whole podcast here, of how we want to share our thinking and our roadmap and innovations in the product. But really, it's a conversation we want to have as a two-way conversation with our customers. And we'll share some links where you can get engaged if you're not already through that. But we had posted our page for us to get customer feedback, and our top customer feedback, in terms of what feature they wanted to see, was the ability to provision Windows 365 Enterprise with native Azure Active Directory join. And we were so excited to be able to announce that amongst a number of other announcements at Ignite. We also had the opportunity to share our new Windows 365 web client, which both provides a really rich end user experience that can be all done from a seamless portal experience now. We also provided some updates of future product features that will be coming to light in the next few months, like our ability to do point-in-time restore and rollbacks, and to be able to enable end users to take those actions or to leave that as an admin managed task as well. Of course, in the Windows 365 business front, a number of innovations around that as well. One was a new portal experience that provides a true single pane of glass experience from procurement, licensing assignment, provisioning, management, and consumption, all from a single pane of glass experience. And as you know, dealing with with any business offering, customers typically don't have a lot of in-house IT support. And a simple thing like transitioning someone out of one portal to another portal can be quite confusing and jarring, and often leads to lower productivity and lower use and lower value for admins. So we really wanted to address that and focus on creating a really rich end-to-end experience that can be done, as I mentioned, out of a single portal.
Yeah, that's great. And one thing I really like too is that the URL is pointing out to the product name too. So you can just go to windows365.microsoft.com and just you are there and then log on and then you're in your Cloud PC. So that simplicity and the easiness of getting access to Windows, that's something that really resonates with the hybrid remote working environments that are active right now.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we're super excited about with this product is, we built it to support organizations that I'm talking about the Windows 365 business, organizations from 300 down to, employee count of 1. And that's really unique with this product because there are no fixed costs. So you can deploy a single instance of this and use it for your organization or scale all the way up to 300 users. And that's something that's really unique to this product, and both in terms of just the total cost of ownership as well as the actual fixed cost. Really enable our partners to resell the product and end users to get their hands on this now where it may not have been accessible just because the cost just didn't make it really viable for smaller organizations in the past.
Yeah, that's great. So I think we can stop the clock now and jump directly into some cool demos on the things that you just explained. So let's switch over to your environment.
Let me show you the end user experience here at the Windows 365 web portal, available at windows365.microsoft.com. Now, first off, you'll note that I've been provisioned 3 different Cloud PCs here. Most users would probably have just one, but because this is my demo environment, I have a few different configurations provisioned. I want to show you around this portal a bit and show you just how we've tried to tackle the user friendliness and building something that was really easy for an end user to feel comfortable behind and have the kind of information and experiences and capabilities that they have on a physical device. So first off, you'll note that each of my Cloud PCs is represented by one of these tiles. And one of the awesome features that actually Christian worked on was the ability to easily see which of these desktops were Windows 11 with this little bloom here and which ones are Windows 10 like the one on the far right. Of course, I also get that information down below along with other specs about my machine, including how many cores, how much memory, and how much storage I have. Now I can click on this button right here and open in browser, and we'll get to there in a minute, but I want to show you around some other tasks and things that you can do here. And I want you to consider when you see these capabilities, how much of this is a representation of what typical end users can do with a physical device. So if I want to operate on any of these various Cloud PCs provisioned to me, I've got a gear icon associated with each one. So clicking on the gear here, you'll see that the first task is restart. Now this is something that is a bit of a unicorn in the virtualization space, being able to restart a VM running out of the cloud. And it's traditionally something you don't see exposed with virtualization because in many cases you're sharing a single VM with other users. So me as an end user, if I click this restart button and there's 5, 10 other people working on the same virtual machine, there could be data loss. Because Windows 365 focuses on personal desktops, I am in control of my own machine and I can click restart. Now, of course, admins, if they want to prevent end users from doing this, they can turn on and off these features through policies that they can set. In my case, my central admin for my Windows 365 Enterprise SKU here has enabled me to do a restart. And this name that you see here, this West US PMs, this is a name that I can rename here by clicking rename. And then this troubleshooting task, this is by far one of the most powerful tools we've created for Windows 365. And I'll show you some of the back-end tools that we provide for admins to be able to understand the health of their deployment. But as end users now move to different types of networks, traditionally, your user base has been on corporate network and have been accessing all your corporate resources through your on-prem network connections. In this new world where your workforce is more highly distributed, they could be at home on their home network behind their consumer router. They could be in a coffee shop, at a friend's house, the library. They could be anywhere. And the network conditions that they're operating in could vastly vary from those different environments. So ensuring that the end user can determine if their network that they're on is functioning properly before they pick up the call with support or file a ticket is really a powerful tool to ensure that they can immediately troubleshoot local network connections before they engage with their IT department. So this little network troubleshooting tool, I say, yep, I'm going to run a test here. We'll go out and evaluate whether the network I'm on right now has all the required capabilities to ensure a great experience with Windows 365. So if I had a router that was not operating correctly, I needed to reboot it or other issue, I could go address those and then rerun the test and ensure that I'm in a great state. So you can see that the test completed, no issues. And again, there's some other options here. One is just core system information. If I want to know what the actual device name is of the machine and some additional details, I can gather that information. There's some additional capabilities that we announced that will be coming soon here. I'll show you some of those on this machine. You can see that I've got a new option here also to do a reset. Now a reset will take that machine all the way back to its original state when it was provisioned to me. Another feature we announced at Ignite is the ability to do a restore. Now this is a very powerful tool that again can be exposed to end users or centrally managed through IT that will allow an end user to restore back to a previous point in time. Our implementation will provide settings where you can determine how often you do restores or do backups and then provide those different restore options for end users. Very powerful tool. You'll see a lot more stuff coming soon in here as well as optional features you can expose to your end users to empower them to have the same set of capabilities they have in the physical world. Now, there's a great first run experience you get the first time you log into this portal. And we also have a little demo that walks you through some of the highlights of the capabilities here. So if I click on this take a tour option here, you'll see gives me some insights about this tile I'm looking at that I can launch directly from the browser here, and also this gear icon as a way that users can change settings. Now, again, I can go straight to a browser experience here, but also clicking on the download button, we've made it really simple to get the native apps installed for each platform that we support. And of course, we're smart enough to know based on user agent string that we're running a 64-bit of Windows, so it highlights this option in blue, but I can install the client for Mac, iOS, and Android as well. So it makes it really simple to get the native application, but if you're using a shared device, just want to quickly log in and get work done, the browser experience is awesome. So one of the things we announced is this new Windows 365 optimized web client, and I'm so excited that customers now have access to this. So if you go to windows365.microsoft.com, you should see this new What's New link right up in the top corner. By clicking that link, you can turn on the new Windows 365 web experience and toggle this on and off to meet your needs. I've got it on, and I've actually already started a session here, and I want to show you around this new web client. First off, you'll note very similar visual to what you saw in the portal. That same gear icon is exposed to me as an end user where I can control different redirection capabilities. I can even turn on additional keyboard capabilities or alternate language keyboards here. And I can do these in session. I love how easy it also is to go full screen here. So if I click this arrow here, I can remove the browser Chrome. And that blanking that you're seeing in the screen is actually intentional. What's happening is the host that's hosting this workload in the cloud is actually resizing its native resolution to ensure I'm getting a better pixel for pixel representation in my browser. Same thing here, if I collapse this toolbar here to get the full image on the screen, the image is resized back on the host, and now I'm running in the native resolution of my screen here. And I tell you what, if you came up behind me right now and looked over my shoulder, you think I'm running this Windows experience native. And that was our goal, that even in a browser, I've got this really, really rich experience where I can quickly access my corporate resources in a secure way using Cloud PC. Now, I want to transition and show you how we expose the best of Windows 11 with Windows 365. And before I get started in showing you some of my favorite features, I want to show you that we meet the full hardware floor of Windows 11 with Windows 365. And again, I want to give a nod to Chris John. Not only is he a great advocate for engaging our customers and partners, he's also an amazing engineer. And one of the work that he was driving was the Windows 11 support in Windows 365. So a little round of applause to Chris John for the two hats he often wears. But a lot of these, the rich experience you're seeing here came from his mind and working with our engineering team. And to be able to achieve that full hardware compatibility of Windows 11 was one of our priorities, to ensure that we meet the full hardware floor so you get the full rich experience in the most secure way delivered through Windows 365. So what I just ran here was the PC health check and just showing you a live demo that I meet all the hardware requirements here. So that means I support security solutions like Trusted Launch. I have that new VPN 2.0. I meet all the hardware floor required to ensure both security and performance. So let's put that out of the way and talk a little bit about some of the new windowing experiences of Windows 11. Some of my favorite features here. I love the new start menu and how clean and organized things are. But I also often move between different environments in my Windows 365 environment where maybe I'm in a multi-mon state or in a single screen state. And the ability now to take advantage of all this screen real estate has never been more powerful than what we have in Windows 11. So one of my favorite features now is I can just hover over the minimize button instead of just putting this down into the start menu or in the tray there. I can now organize my apps in different modes. So here I'll do a 3-screen mode. In fact, actually I'm going to start here in Outlook because I love putting Outlook over on the left because I like to use Outlook in more of this portrait mode. And then I'll put PowerPoint there, and then we'll put Excel here. I'm running in a relatively low resolution because of the recording we're doing here, but generally I run in a 4K resolution with my virtualization environment, and I can be super productive in this view where maybe I'm composing an email and looking at some data in a spreadsheet and some materials from a PowerPoint. One of the other fundamental different experiences we provide with Windows 365 in this new category we call Cloud PC is this is my personal desktop, meaning if I'm checking out for the end of the day right now and I leave things here, when I log back in tomorrow, this will be exactly where I left it. I don't have to worry about shutting down resources at night because meters are spinning. This is offered at a very attractive fixed price, and I'm getting the full best expression of Windows, being I have my own personal desktop with my apps, my backgrounds, my settings, and right where I left things. So I love that I can organize things this way. I love also that I can quickly switch between multiple different desktops. This feature's been around for some time in Windows, but never been exposed in the same way as it is now with this really great new system tray icon where I can create different layouts. So here you can see I've got a layout or a desktop custom created for hosting my games. If I want to go back into work mode, I simply hover or click and switch back over to work, and I'm back here. So really great way of organizing Windows and organizing different apps that might span work and play. All right, so let me switch gears here a little bit. Let's go back into regular mode here in the browser. And I want to show you another really exciting demo, which is our new Windows 365 Business Portal experience. All right, here I am in the new Windows 365 Business Portal. And I want to show you some of the exciting new features and capabilities that we've created here. As I mentioned before, our goal was to create a single pane of glass experience for procurement, provisioning, managing, and consuming Windows 365. This is exceptionally important when you're dealing with organizations that don't have central IT, both creating that experience of managing the environment, but also consuming the environment, minimizing the need to have IT support, and empowering or democratizing a lot of the tasks that end users can do in the physical world, now making those available in the virtual world as well. So let me walk you through this demo real quick. So first off, one of the things you'll note in this portal experience, because I'm an admin in my organization, I've got some additional tasks along the top bar here, and I get this new option here to both jump right into my Cloud PCs. In this case, I've got 2 Cloud PCs provisioned, or go in and change organizational settings. So let's take a look at that. So first thing you'll note is I'm hosting the actual user list from my AAD here right inside of this portal experience. And I can go through from here now and add users, change users, make different settings here. But let's go through and take a quick look at this organizational settings option that's exposed here as well. So first off, I'll also be highlighting one of the new features of the Windows 365 business offering is to be able to provision users as either standard users or local admin. Now, in many cases, you can get away with standard users if all the apps that they're using are already pre-installed in the image or are available through installation through standard user. But if they need local admin privs for whatever reason, you can choose that option as well. And of course, now we provide both Windows 11 and Windows 10 images here, so I could toggle that setting on a global setting or keep it as Windows 11, which would be our recommended state. So from there, I can do global settings, and of course, I can change those settings on a case-by-case basis for specific users. So I might say, 90% of my users are Windows 11 and standard user, but on a case-by-case, I might need Windows 10 and an admin privilege, for instance. So let's actually walk through the process of creating a new user, and I'll show you again, I can do all of this now in this single pane of glass. So I clicked on the add user, let's add Michael Thompson. And before I add this user, let's also go ahead and assign Michael the right licenses here. So you can see Windows 365 Business Standard is already a default. And let's go ahead and assign him this 2-core 8 GB Cloud PC. And I'll click Update here and then Add Users. Now here's one of the most exciting things is I created a user, assigned him a business license, assigned him a Cloud PC, and by the time I'm done with this demo, Michael would be able to log into his new Cloud PC. That entire end-to-end flow, all done in a matter of minutes in a single portal. It's just unheard of in traditional virtualization offerings. But now let's drill into a specific user here. In this case, let's take a look at Anton. Now Anton is again a somewhat unique user in that I've provisioned him 3 different machines. And Anton has different configurations for each of these. Anton's telling me that he's having some problems with his machine. He's a relatively new user, though he knows that some of these tasks are already exposed. He's a little tentative in doing a restart. I've done some investigation, and indeed, I think Anton's got his machine in a bad state. So let's go ahead and restart it on his behalf. So of course, I'm going to get a warning because this is going to reboot just Anton's machine. I'm going to go ahead and say restart, and a restart action is quite quick. Anton is back up and running now with his machine all ready to go back to his previous state. So you can see this really simplifies all the management overhead. In the existing Windows 365 Business Portal experience, many of these tasks are deep linked out to portals like the Microsoft Admin Center. And some customers are quite familiar with working within the Admin Center. That's where you do license assignment, user management, and other tasks with other M365 services. So customers that want to continue to use the Microsoft Admin Center will also see the Windows 365 administrative tasks available there, but we've also pulled in the common tasks that you typically do in the Microsoft Admin Center right here into the Windows 365 business offering.
So that looks great, Scott. So that's a great benefit for business customers. So that simplicity is as well something that is like announced during Ignite for Enterprise, right? So can you show that as well?
Yeah, so here I am in the Windows 365 Enterprise portal, aka the Microsoft Endpoint Manager portal. This is the same portal that your endpoint admins would use to manage physical devices. And it was our goal to really simplify the management of virtualization offerings by empowering an endpoint admin to do all the same tasks they do on physical devices with virtual devices. So you'll note right off the bat that right inside of the Devices tab, inside of the Microsoft Endpoint Management portal, you see this new Provisioning tab and Windows 365 listed there. And here I'm in the Overview page where you can see all the common tasks and at a glance, all the health of my deployment. And you can see here that I've provisioned 9 machines. All my network connections are healthy. In another blog, maybe or a podcast, we'll talk more about this particular feature, as there's a lot of value right here in this monitoring of the customer environment here. But today I want to focus on some of the things we announced at Ignite. One of the most exciting new features, as we mentioned before, is the ability to provision Windows 365 Enterprise using native Azure Active Directory join. So we do that by creating what we call provisioning policies, or a group of settings that define how Cloud PCs are provisioned for your end users. And as you can see, I have 6 different provisioning policies here. And these define where in the world I'm provisioning the machines, what image I'm using, and a few other basic settings that I'll walk you through here in a minute. Now you can see that in my list, I've got 2 different types of provisioning policies. I have provisioning policies that are using our hybrid Azure Active Directory join, and provisioning policies that are using the new native AADJ. So let me walk you through the process of creating this, and I want you to take note of the cognitive load, how complex these setup tasks are for an endpoint admin versus other solutions you've probably seen in market. So first off, I'm just going to go create a policy. And if you've seen this UX before, this user experience, one of the things you'll note that's quite different here is this join type. I can either do a join type of Azure AD join or hybrid Azure Active Directory join. Now in my case, you already saw in my environment, I have a mix of these. So you're not required to do a global switch of your entire environment. You can start provisioning now using native AAD join and still continue to maintain your hybrid join. So I want to walk you through this setup experience to show you just how easy it is. So let me give it a friendly name. We'll call this the Win365 AADJ demo. And I can optionally give it a description. And you can see, again, the options of hybrid or native AAD join. Let's show the net new option to do Azure Active Directory join. And one of the really exciting innovations of how we enabled this feature was giving you the ability to host either on a Microsoft hosted network, meaning I don't need an Azure VNet. So if you wanted to pattern match how you provision physical machines to your end users, meaning you build a laptop and you either use autopilot or some other mechanism to get that device into their physical hands, and then that device gets onto corporate network using VPN or other network tools. So if that's the model you like to provision your cloud PCs to match that exact same experience, then you would just choose the Microsoft hosted network. If you wanted these machines that are native AAD joined to sit on a VNet that has access to other corporate resources or other services that are bound to an intranet, then I can create my own VNets anywhere in the world, wherever I might have my workforce deployed, and provision right to that VNet in the same way we do hybrid. In my case, let's go down this simple path of just choosing a Microsoft hosted network, and we have regions all around the world where you can use to provision these things, and we're constantly adding more of these. One of the things that Christian recently led the development of was the expansion into West US 3. So let's go ahead and choose that in the honor of Christian's great work here. So all I've done here is said I want to give it a name. I want a Microsoft hosted network. Where? Now, as I mentioned, one of the other settings is what image? For these particular users, do I want to create my own custom image that includes apps and settings and policies that I've already applied? And this could even be an image you're using with physical devices. Or do you want an image out of our gallery that's highly curated by our engineers and maintained and updated monthly? So let's take that path. I'm going to choose Windows 11 preloaded with the M365 apps. I'm going to say select. I'll go next. Who do I want to assign this to? What groups of users am I provisioning this West US provisioning policy to? Well, it just turns out I've created an AADJ group called West US 3. So let's go ahead and choose that. Select, and I can add multiple groups here as well. I click next. I get a chance to review all these settings. I click create, and I'm done. Now, if I have users in that group here, that AD group, the US West group, I simply apply the license of Windows 365, and from this point forward, machines will automatically be provisioned. So if tomorrow I'm onboarding 500 new users into US West, and I want to get their machine set up, I would simply just put them into this AAD group, and those machines will be ready, measured in minutes. So really exciting way of easily creating new policies that can be created very simply by your endpoint admins and allow you to provision machines in a way that's very commensurate with the physical world and how you're providing physical devices to your users.
Yeah, that's really amazing, Scott. And you come from this space, I come from this space, and this is exactly the kind of innovation this space needs to address the hybrid remote working needs right now. And we can go on for hours, I guess, because we are passionate about this technology. But let's wrap up and make something, let's pin something in the future on the agenda so we have you back and do some new run-throughs and dive even deeper into the technology. So before we wrap up, one of the other great things that are part of the announcements, as I know, are GovCloud support that's coming for partners, multi-tenant support to manage multiple tenants at the same time, and GPU SKUs, right, Scott?
Yeah, those are some really exciting new features. Again, coming from you, our customers and partners out there, sharing your feedback. And we're planning on sharing this already, but we'd love to hear from you. If you simply go to aka.ms/W365 feedback, you can either upvote existing feature requests or add your own new ones. And if you also want to stay on top of what's in our roadmap, what's right in front of our windshield of the next round of features, you can go to aka.ms/W365 roadmap.
So Scott, how can people stay in touch with you about the product and all the kind of new announcements on social media?
Well, you can follow me on Twitter. My handle is @RDS4U. I tend to stay pretty active there in sharing some insights about what's coming, some thoughts behind the scenes of some of the product features and enhancements. So love to hear from you there as well.
We might have to change that handle at some point, Scott. But anyway, that's where
I love to give praise to my roots.
Here, that's a good call out, and as well reflection to the intro of this episode. So thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in today, and I hope we see you back in next episode. And make sure to follow us on ak.ms/Windows in the Cloud and my own social channel as well, Brinkhoff_C. So hope to see you next time back at an episode number 3. So thank you, everyone.